Good afternoon. It's day 2 of my retreat here at Launda Abbey before I become ordained on Sunday. And I've had a really nice day actually. It's been really peaceful. We've had a lot of silence, a lot of quiet. Also been on a really lovely walk. Wow, it's a bit muddy. And lots of flies as well. There are these sort of biting flies that seem to hang around by the sheep, and they were not particularly pleasant. I'm glad I brought some antihistamine with me because I'll be itching tonight, I think. But anyway, the walk was really nice, and it was just an opportunity to break the silence and go out and enjoy the lovely countryside we're surrounded by around here. But what we've been talking about and what we've been contemplating have been a couple of things, really. The first thing we looked at was being chosen and being loved by God. If you want to find out where all this comes from, it's all in the first part of John chapter 10, verses 1 through about 18. And this idea that we listen for God's voice. And that's how shepherds in the Middle East lead. It says in John that they know my voice and they follow me because they know my voice. And that's often how we can follow God too. In the midst of all the turmoil and the distress of daily life, we can listen for that voice of God if we can, and He will direct us and show us the right way to go. It's quite apt that we're talking about sheep and shepherds. If you've ever been to Launda Abbey, there's loads of sheep in the fields. In fact, just outside the front of the house here, there's loads of sheep in the field. You have to avoid them when you're driving or even walking sometimes. And there's something I've noticed. Obviously, there are lambs this time of year. And the lamb's call is echoed by the mother. It's like they have the same sort of tonality to the way when they call. And this I found very beautiful, especially thinking about the stuff here with us learning God's voice. As it seems very early on that both the mother and the lamb learn each other's voice and each other's call. And they have a specific way of communicating so that they can call to each other from across the pasture. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's where I want to get to with God, is that I can hear His voice across the pasture, that I can hear Him calling me and I recognise His voice instantly, and I can go and be with Him and follow where He's leading. Because when I'm going into this pioneer ministry I'm going in, it's not like there's a set up church for me. I'll be doing some of that. But some of the stuff as a pioneer is about creating new things. And very much when you're in that community setting, what you need to be able to do is see where God is acting, listening to where God is already calling you, already working with people, already at work in the community, and joining Him with what He's doing. And that requires that discernment and that listening to His voice to be able to do it. And that is something that I hope that I will develop further through spending some time here over the next few days listening, but also in my further walk with God. Secondly, we've just had a session on being chosen. Now, if you haven't been part of the selection process for the Church of England or been near somebody who has, you won't appreciate quite what a task it is to get to this point. I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm just saying it's quite heavy duty, the selection procedure. I first offered myself for ordination back in 2009. I'm going to be writing a little bit more in detail on the website going through my life story in chunks. If you haven't checked that out, go to nickthevic.com. That's nickthevic.com. You'll find sort of some stuff about my life story there and how I got to this point of becoming ordained. But when I offered myself for ordination in 2009, it's now 2016, and it took a long time and lots of interviews and meetings with various people. We moved in the middle of that, which didn't really help. But now we're here, and you get selected and you go to something called a BAP, which is a Bishop's Advisory Panel. It's like once all the people locally have agreed that they think you might be right, then you go to this kind of national organised selection weekend or week where you are interviewed by various people, and people from outside who don't know you interview and decide whether you're they pray and they discern whether you're right. And that's quite daunting, as you can imagine. And then yeah, the bishop says yes, and you go off to training, and even during that training time, there is further discernment going on, further people thinking about you and writing reports on you as to whether you're suitable to be ordained. And finally, we're here. Hopefully, nothing bad will happen over this weekend that they'll decide not to ordain me, but it's been a long haul, and lots of people have had an input and a decision to make that all of us here are right to go forward for that ministry. And although arduous and difficult, it's reassuring in some ways too, because it's not my idea. I don't feel like I've woken up one day and thought, I'll be a vicar. I do feel like God's called me, but that call's been affirmed and recognised by others too, which is really beautiful, and means that not only was my feeling right when I heard God, but also that you've got that support as well of other people championing your call and your vocation to work for Him full time in this church. So it's a real honour and quite a task to get here, but I'm really excited that I am, and looking forward especially to the weekend when, in fact, the leader of the retreat just said we'll have made it home, we'll have finally got there. And it does feel a bit like that, really, that we're kind of almost there, almost at the big day. So I feel quite excited and exhilarated this afternoon, which just wasn't what I was expecting to feel on retreat, but that's where I am at the moment. So yeah, I think I'm going to ponder more of being called and remembering the journey. So if you have any questions about what's going on, or you want to know more, feel free to tweet me at Nick the Vic. You follow me on Facebook, Nick Stevenson there, or go on the website and comment on the post there. That's nickthevic.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow.